Next, some people can eyeball the center line, but what I like to do, because I cannot, for the sake of me, just draw a straight line, I use a thinner tape, I use a ruler. Tape stretches, but your center line that you drew should still be a straight line. I'm going to cut the tape so that the line that you created is approximately at the center of the line. It doesn't have to be totally exact. Then, here, at the top of your last, the cone of the last, I look for the center. You can eyeball this. If you're really precise and you really want to measure, you can measure and mark the center of that width. You can eyeball it. The bottom and at the toe, it's really difficult to mark the center from the top. So I flip it over, put a finger across, and I can see where the center is much more easily. Same here. Still roughly. We'll find out if it's nice or not. Take this tape. I connect two dots that I created. Actually, I'll start at the toes. It's easier to start at the toes. Right where this line dot is, I place my tape with a line, and I aim for the top little mark right there. And for a flat like this, flat last, it's not as much of a curvature right here, but for higher heels, you'll see a lot of tape dipping down. So I hold it straight and I press gently with my fingers down so that ideally the straight line should fall right where it should go. And I look at it, cut it a little shorter. The excess tape I can use for the back. Okay, so now I look at it from the top. Look at it from the top. See if it's at the center. Look at it from the bottom and see if there's any wobbliness. I'm thinking that this line is a little bit towards the lateral side right now. So I'm going to change it. Just peel it up, move it over, and do the same thing again. That's what I like about the tape method, because I can kind of do it over again without creating multiple feathered lines. It's one sharp line. Does that look a little better? I still feel like it's a little off, but it's okay. We're humans. It doesn't have to be completely straight in the center, because we're going to make a mean form, which means we're going to average out the center. So let's check the back as well. Okay, should be 90 degrees from the floor, surface right there, heel surface, and then up. Let's make sure it's centered. I think it's centered. Okay, so I'll cut off the top clean as well. Okay, so the next step is to draw in your reference lines. You know, when you draw your face, you draw like an oval, the position of your nose, eyebrows, the mouth. That's what we need for your shoes, so you know where your feet flex and where there's movement in the shoe. To do that, you need to mark where the widest part of your ball of the foot is. And it's kind of hard to see from the top, so what I like to do is I flip it over, use the side of a table, and mark right where it touches the side of the table. I don't put the shoe like this, at the last like this, where the heel and the front part is all touching the side of the table. I keep it perpendicular, or parallel, you say. I'm kind of boxing off the last. So this side, I also go like this. I'm not putting the back towards the side of the table. I keep it floating, it's parallel, and I let it touch the side of the table. You see right where it touches the table? So there's these two marks. Now I use this tape measure. I allow the tape to be towards me, the toes away from me, and the mark is on the top of the tape. And I connect the two. See this air and like looseness in the tape? I will adjust the tape, push it so that the tape lays naturally along the last with no gap. And it looks like this. It will be a little diagonal. I am using a pen to mark that. And that will show where the big toe is and the 4 other toes here. That's called the metatarsal head area. That's a fit line, flex line. That's right where the foot will bend, and that's where the shoe will crease. Now I am marking the pivot point, which is the middle of the 2 points right here. This is your fit point. And we're going to mark the center of these 2 points. So I'm going to measure from the middle, the center front, all the way to your feather edge. This is called the feather edge right there, where you cut your tape initially. So this is 6.5. So half of it is 3.25. Mark the middle. This medial side and the lateral side, the measurements are different, so you have to measure twice. See, this one is 7.7. So divided by 2 is 3.5 is a 7, and 7, so 1, 2, 3.5, right there. That's the center of these 2 points. This is called a pivot point. Okay? Then now, in this case, this is a Serena last. We use this last with cup soles, and it is for mid-top sneakers or high-top sneakers. So it kind of goes up. So we don't really need to mark where the counterpoint is, but a counterpoint is the height that is like an average point. It's height of your shoe, the comfortable height of your shoe. So from there, if it's a shoe, it'll end there. If it's a boot, it'll go a little outward and taller so that it won't eat into your ankles. And in this case, it's a mid-top last, so your ankle is approximately right here. If it's a regular shoe last, usually the last is about this high, and your ankle is like half under the top of your last and half over the last. But if it's a mid-top shoe last like this one, it's right underneath the top of the last. Okay, let's mark the back heel height. There's a few ways to do it. One way is to measure the back heel cup width. It's about 5.9, and measure that 5.9 up from the center back from the bottom That's a 5.9 right there. Okay? Or another way to do it is to measure your last length using the back side of the tape. It is 41. And then you add 20 to the number, so it's 61. So 61 millimeters from the bottom. It's really not that much different from what we did before. So it's just an indicator and a rough guideline for an average comfortable counter height. Also depends on the shoe that you're making, type of shoe that you're making. So let's just start with the average for now. And if you have a high arch, you can go taller and it won't bother you. If you have a low arch, you can go a little lower, so it won't bother your ankles or heel, back of the heel. All right, using a tape, now I'm gonna connect this pivot point, counterpoint, and the pivot point again. So, lightly drawing this. This is your very unsexy, if it's a woman's shoe, like a pump, like a court shoe kind of guideline, except that you don't want any seams right here. For men's, this could be like a loafer line right there. But again, this is right where you bend your feet. And you don't want any seams right at the ball of the foot because the seams don't stretch. And so now that you have this guideline, you can see if you want toe cleavage, you go a little further down. In this case, it's a sneaker. This is right where the crease happens. So maybe your laces start further up, so it doesn't bother right where you crease, or you can go further down. This is when you can use a pencil to draw in your designs.